Advaita Gadadhar Nivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Sarartha Varshini Tika, which is the commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And then there is the sub-commentary to the Sarartha Varshini, which is by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called as the Rasik Ranjan. We are on the 15th chapter. So we began the discussion on the 15th chapter and we saw the connection between the 15th and the 16th chapter. So we saw how Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate was mentioned. So there is this, the whole material existence tree, because from the bija bhongte comes the roots in the form of three modes, and then there is the entire tree in the form of chapter 15. How this entire tree of material existence, which is also Brahman, but beyond at the root is bliss stored, which is Brahman, Brahma Jyoti. So that which was explained in 14.25 and 26 is elaborated now in the 15th chapter. So we saw that. And then we saw Krishna's 1 to 6 verses speaking about this enigmatic Ashwata tree, Urdhvamulam Adha Shaka. It's called as Ashwata because it is eternal, because as long as one is bound in karma, material world, he's going to stay in it. And those who know the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, they are like Chandansi Yasya Paranani, they are the leaves. And one who knows the entire tree knows. Yes, Tvam Veda Savedavit. And then Krishna further goes on to tell, Adas Cha Urdhvam. The roots are going, branches are going down and they are going up also. And Tasya Shaka and Guna Pravriddha Vishaya Prabhala. And because of the sense objects, the gunas are expanding, spreading in all directions, up and down. And then there are the secondary roots, which are spread in the Manushya Loke, Karmani Bandini Manushya Loke. And then Krishna, uh, you cannot understand this, even if you go up and down, like Brahmaji went. There is na anta, na adi, and you cannot find its, shelter, sampratishta. So asanga shastrena dridana chitva. Just by detachment, kill this. And then attain that padam, by which when you go there, you will not come back again in this material world. How? By taking shelter of Adyam Purusham Prapadyet, from whom this whole material existence, this samsara has sprung out, originated. And how to take shelter? Text 5 spoke about it. Nirmana Moha Jita Sangha Dosha. So how do we know whether we are surrendered? See whether we have these symptoms. And then we went into the next section, 1 verses. If we don't come out of this banyan tree of bondage, if we don't get liberated, then we'll be bound and we'll transmigrate. So transmigration will be explained now by Krishna. We saw this verse, that his abode, Tad Dhama, is not illuminated by sun, moon, or fire. And one who goes there doesn't return back. So that light, Dhama here now is referring to light. It is Brahma Jyoti basically. And it is beyond the material senses. And it illuminates or reveals everything. And it belongs to him. So that is from a Jnani's perspective, understand. For the devotees, it can refer to Tad Dhama Mama Golok Vrindavan. And for Vaikuntha Vasis devotees, it refers to Narayan and the Vaikuntha abode. So like that, So this is where we ended our discussion, and Oh, there was one sloka. Uh, okay, it's not in this chapter then. Okay. Okay, so now we come to text 7. ममेवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातन मनः षष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. This eternal Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So this Jiva Bhuta here, again, let me take my writer. Just a minute, please. Give me just 30 seconds. Wow. Okay. Yeah, Jiva Bhuta here refers to the entire sum. What is this? The other day. Yeah. So Jiva Bhuta here refers to the entire Jiva Shakti. That means the entire Tatastha Shakti. Okay. The eternal Jiva Bhuta, one of my parts, Mama Eva Amsha, drags with it Karshati, the senses and the sixth sense called as a man. Manas Shashtani Indriyani. The mind is the sixth sense which drags all the other five senses, which is situated in the Prakriti. Jiva Loke Prakriti Sthani. Okay. Who is that Jiva who, crossing samsara by devotion to you, attains that place? Note, this was one of the questions asked in the commentary on the first verse of this chapter in response to the last verses of the previous chapters. So this is one of the questions asked in the commentary on the first verse of this chapter in response to the last verses of the previous chapter. So if you remember in the last verse, uh, who transcends the three modes? So Krishna spoke about this in Bhagavad Gita 14.26 and 27. Now he is elaborating more Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate and how he is the shelter of that Brahman. Okay. So, but please remember that, yeah, please remember that he's answering Arjuna these questions. And who is the one Jiva who crosses the samsara? Not Chandansiyasya Paranani, because he goes up and down in this tree of material existence, up in the Devata planet, down again in the Bhuloka, commits sin and then goes to hellish planets. But in the 15th chapter, first verse, last line, Yastam Veda Sa Vedavit. So now further it is being elaborated in this verses now, coming verses. Who is that Jiva who, crossing samsara by devotion to you, attains that place? Note, this is one of the questions asked in the commentary on the first verse of this chapter in response to the last verses of the previous chapter. I hope this is clear. In the Varan Puran, it is said, Swamsha tata vibhinamsha iti dvedhyayam ishyate vibhinamshastu jiva syat. There are two types of amsha of the Lord, the Swamsha and a Vibhinamsha. So this is mentioned in the Vara Puran. Prabhupada also quotes this many times in the Bhagavatam. The Vibhinamsha is the Jiva. So Jiva, as I mentioned, it is entirely the sum total of all the Jivas. The Jiva is eternal, Sanatana, and in the conditioned state, drags the senses, the sixth of which is the mind, situated in Prakriti, situated in delusion, like a person who drags chains bolted onto his feet, which he proudly accepts, thinking, these are mine. He is only dragging the chains which is tied to him on the legs and is happy dragging them because they are bound to me, no? So they belong to me. So the mind, drags the senses in this different bodies, and you're very happy being dragged by it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if you doubt how the living entities attain these two states, then listen. I am Bhagwan, the embodiment of complete eternality, knowledge, and bliss. I have two types of expansions, Amsha, Swamsha and Vibhinamsha. As Swamsha, I perform pastimes in forms of Rama and Narasimha. So as Swamsha, he performs this. As Vibhinamsha, I manifest as Jivas, who are my eternal servants. So, please remember the Jivas are actually God particles, not the full-fledged God, because they are tiny, But the same amshas are all Bhagavan. That is the difference. Jiva also are actually, you know, the Lord's expansions also, but they are his eternal servants, Vibhin Amsha. In Swamsha Tattva, the ego of being the supreme exists fully. So he is Bhagavan, that ego is there, real true ego. In my Vibhinamsha, however, I do not have the ego of being the supreme, and therefore a separate individual appears. So there is a separate individual existence, that appears in the Jiva. The living entity, Vibhinansha Tattva, has two states, Mukta and Baddha, liberated and bound. The Jiva is eternal, regardless of whether he is liberated or conditioned. Mamevamsha Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So there are the eternal living entities living in the liberated state in the spiritual world. But the Manashashtani, Indriyani, Prakriti-sthani, Karshati who are in this material world, they are the Baddha Jivas. In the liberated state, the Jiva is completely dependent upon me and has no relationship with material nature. In the bound state, the Jiva accepts the six senses, the mind and the five external senses, as his own and identifies with them while situated in the material body, which he also sees as himself. So this is the difference. Now, Krishna in the previous verse had spoken about Manashashtani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. So what is this Prakriti Sthani Karshati, how he in this Prakriti takes one body after another body, because Krishna had explained in brief, if you know, Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu, Purusha Prakriti Stohe, Bhaungte Prakriti Jan Gunan, Karana Guna Sangasya, Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu. So now he is expanding how the transmigration happens in this verse. If you have any questions, you are free to raise your hands. Huh? शरीरं यद् अवाप्नोति यच्चाप्य उत्क्रामतीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धान् इवाश्रयात्. When the jiva, yad Ishvara, accepts apnoti or leaves, yachapya utkramati, the T is missing. A body, shariram, he takes these senses with him in the subtle body. Etani grihitva samyati, just as air takes fragrance from objects and goes and will. Vayur gandhan ivashayat. Very apt example. Let's see. In dragging around the senses, Where does the jiva, what does the jiva do? When the jiva, the master of the senses, Ishvara, accepts a body and leaves the body, he goes away, taking these senses along with the subtle body. So the body is made of senses, but all the impressions of sense enjoyment is there in the subtle body. And it is the subtle body which travels from one, leaving one body, and it goes to another body. And there, a gross body is developed according to the desires he has acquired because of the particular desires he has and impressions he has in the subtle body. So Krishna spoke about, in the Bhagavad Gita 2.13, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatrana muyate. Now he's expanding how actually the whole transmigration happens from one body to another. So whole the process is given now in the 15th chapter. This is like the wind taking the fragrance, why its subtle element with its subtle element from the receptacles of fragrance, ashayat, such as garlands and sandalwood, and going elsewhere. So now the example is also one subtle element taken by another subtle element. So the fragrance which is there in the substances, this is subtle, the fragrance. And the fragrance is carried by the element which is air, which is also subtle. You cannot see air. So similarly, that is how, the subtle body in the form of desires, the subtle desires what you have, based on that you get that kind of subtle, based on that you can get the next gross body. So that's what is being explained here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, death does not terminate one's body state. The living entity's past actions determine the next gross body, and in due course of time he will move on from that also. As he travels from one body to the next, he carries with him desires to perform bodily activities. Gandha, this is the Gandha, Vayur Gandha Ivashaya. Just as the wind carries an aroma from its source, such as flowers or sandalwood, to another place, the jiva, along with the subtle elements and the senses, travels from one gross body to another. Okay, now further Krishna explains. Sotram chakshuh sparshanam cha rasanam granam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayan upasevate. Taking shelter, adhishtaya, of ear, eye, skin, sotram, chakshu, sparshanam, cha, tongue, nose, rasanam, granam, evacha, and mind, manascha. The jiva enjoys the object of the senses. Ayam vishayan upasevate. Vishayan means we know. This is a sense objects, enjoys. And upasevate means to enjoy. Sevan karna, you know. So, if you see the ear, the eye, the skin, and the tongue and the nose, these are actually the subtle organs. So in the Antakaran, I'm just representing here. So there is the mind, there is the intelligence, there is the false ego, you know. And then each of these subtle organs, there are 5 compartments. And the mind is connected to all the 5. And it is like, just like, the I'm not so good in drawing again. So this is like the hand, the palm is like the mind, and all the fingers are the 5 senses. So chakshu, Chakshu is the subtle sense organ. Eye. Subtle eye it is. And Akshi is the gross organ which we see, you know. Similarly, there is, Stotram is the subtle organ, and ear is called as actually Karna. Sparshanam is again the subtle organ. And what is the gross organ called? Twak, the external skin. And then Rasanam is the subtle organ. Subtle organ. And what is the gross organ? Anyone knows? What is the gross organ called? Anyone? What is the gross organ called? What is the gross organ called? Govind Nandini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
What is the gross
I
organ?
don't know, Prabhuji.
Okay, Bir Krishnaji. Acha, okay, hold on. Bir Krishnaji, just hold on. Acha, how do you taste? With which organ do you taste?
Um,
Tongue. What is it called in Sanskrit?
Jiva, maybe.
Jiva.
I don't.
Okay. Correct. Now you got the answer. Jiva is the gross organ. Now, actually, if you think about it very carefully, the tongue is just a flesh, a 4 inches flesh. How can it taste something? Can it taste? Where is the desire to taste?
In mind.
Excellent. So there the subtle organ is sitting in the mind. That's what I want to bring out here. Okay. And then there is the granam. The granam is the, okay, sorry. Granam is the subtle nose. What is the gross nose called as? Govindandini Machaji?
Nose.
No, but what is it called in Sanskrit?
Granam. Yeah, here, na? Granam.
It's called as granam, the subtle organ. Subtle nose, it is subtle organ, sorry. What is the gross nose called as? In the Ramayana, Lakshman cut what? Surpanaka's what?
Nasika.
Nasika. And that's why that place is now famous as
Nashik.
Nasika.
Nashik.
Nasika. Nostrils is the instrument through which we, the subtle, but the smell, the pleasure of that smell is experienced in the mind. Otherwise, these are all material, there is no experience of the soul. But because, we have been given this chitta through which we are experiencing all the, and it is happening by the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Otherwise, the soul cannot enjoy matter. Because the soul has a desire to enjoy matter, Krishna has given these facilities. So, Vishayan Upa Sevate. Having gone into a body, what does he do? Taking shelter, Adhishtai, of the senses such as the ear and also the mind, he enjoys the objects of the senses, Vishayan, such as sound. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In other words, he accepts another material body. That's it. And then further, Utkramantam sitam vapi bhunjanam vagunanvitam vimudananupasshanti pashyanti jnana chakshusha. The foolish do not understand. Vimuda na anupashyanti. When the jiva is leaving the body, Utkramantam, residing in it, sitam vapi, or enjoying the sense of the bhunjan van gunanvitam. Those with eyes of knowledge perceive this. Pashyanti jnana chakshusha. So who can see all this and who cannot see all this? Do we not realize at all that body from which we depart, within which we reside in the body, and residing there, how we enjoy pleasures? Persons with no intelligence, Vimuda, do not recognize when the jiva is leaving the body, residing in the body, or enjoying the present sense objects with the senses, gunanvitam. But men of discrimination, jnana chakshusha, observe this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Those who are wise understand that the jiva's conditioned existence is extremely troublesome. Okay. Now, this is, I think, last in the series. यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्ति आत्मन्यवस्थितं यतन्तो अकृतात्मानः नैनं पश्यन्ति अचेतस. Endeavoring yogis, yatanta yogina, see this soul, enam pashyanti, situated in the body, atmanya avasitam. Those with impure heart, akrita atmano achetasa. So two, you know, describers are there. Akrita atmana and then achetasa. Though they may endeavor, yatantapi, do not see it. Na enam pashyati. Those persons of discrimination are the endeavoring yogis. They see the soul in the body. Those with impure consciousness, akrita atmana, even endeavoring, do not see the soul there. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the endeavoring yogis can see the journey for the conditioned soul because they are established in the knowledge of self, Atma Tattva. So only one who is on Atma Tattva can see all this. However, the impure yogis, because they are not sufficiently endeavoring for spiritual trend, are unable to ascertain the science of the self. So how the bondage happens and transmigration, 7 to 11 spoke about it. So any questions you have about this section, I can take it up now. Yes, Bir Krishnaji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanapram. Prabhu, I have two questions. First, Prabhu, this jiva, when it is conditioned, so
No, your voice
subtle
is breaking.
bodies are. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, now it is okay.
Yeah, now it is okay.
Hari Bol.
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay.
Prabhu, I'm saying that, Prabhu, these subtle bodies, when they are carrying the impressions from, I mean, in conditioned state, they are moving from one body to other body. Prabhu, when you know, when a devotee practices devotion service, in that case, this subtle body gets purified and spiritual. I mean, spiritual impressions are born, or subtle body get destroyed. How it is?
Can you summarize and get me the clear question, because
I'm
so many
trying to
things
say,
is
bro, like uh, in conditioned state, subtle body is carrying the jiva, basically.
correct because of Vayurgandha Vashat. Yeah, because of the
Yes,
impressions. Okay. Yeah.
yes. Now the jiva who is doing devotional service, in that case, their subtle body is getting purified and spiritual impressions are born, or the subtle body is getting destroyed. How it is?
Okay, got it. Now I got it. So basically, in the path of bhakti, let us try to understand. The jnana path we don't practice, and even if we understand, we cannot understand. So in the path of bhakti, first thing is the subtle body gets purified. It gets spiritualized. So what does it mean that it gets spiritualized? One can see for himself that the nature of the senses is which is to go towards sense objects, correct? So
Hmm.
that impressions take us towards that. But as we engage the senses in Krishna service, the senses gradually get purified, and these same sense objects now become a stimulus to remember Krishna. Before they were a stimulus to forget Krishna and enjoy, and later on they become a stimulus to remember Krishna, and we use them in Krishna's service. Are you getting this first? Secondly, the impressions which start get created, they are created within the soul, because bhakti are impressions on the soul, and these impressions are spiritual activities, and they are not of the spiritual world in one sense. But in the conditioned stage, they are helping us to spiritualize the subtle body. Once the subtle body is spiritualized, then it is the soul itself, it starts having spiritual impressions, which become a stimulus for it to perform devotional service. Is it clear?
Yes. So when we say कि, subtle body is getting spiritualized, that means कि, I mean, Jiva is having the subtle body, it is not getting destroyed.
Jiva is what?
Jiva is having subtle body, it is just getting purified and spiritualized. And with that
Yes.
subtle body, does it move to, I mean, spiritual world with that subtle body?
No, subtle body and gross body is left here, but
Uh-huh.
the soul now, you become separated from it, but the soul has now spiritual stimulus, and that spiritual stimulus is devotional service. Are you getting this point?
Okay. So he
Okay.
leaves the subtle body here.
Yeah, he leaves the subtle body. Liberation means you have to give up the subtle body. But the jnana path is mostly, destruction of the subtle body. That is their process. It's like, the example is given in the Kapil Shiksha that, when you light a lamp with a wick, the fire destroys the wick also, and it also becomes extinguished, right?
Mhm.
Similarly, they destroy the subtle body, you know. So again, there are fine subtleties to it, and I don't remember the whole discussion. But in the Gyan and Yoga path, there is more of destruction of the subtle body there. But here it gets spiritualized, and then the impressions are more in the spiritualized state, the subtle body. The bhakti impressions fall on the soul, and then he's already not identifying himself with the gross and subtle body. So he is actually liberated. Ye yasya hare dasa karmana manasagira nikalavasya jivan mukta sauchate, that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verse is there. So he is situated in his constitutional position. So he is already liberated. So he doesn't endeavor separately to attain liberation. Okay. The very bhakti process itself, does that job. There is no separate endeavor for liberation. Is it okay?
Yes, Prabhu. So we can say that, yeah, uh, even though the subtle body gets spiritualized, but it gets left here only, and that spiritual impressions fall on soul, and by that it moves to spiritual
No.
world.
After it gets spiritualized, the subtle body, then the activities which are done in devotion, those are impressions which are imprinted on the soul.
Mm-hmm.
In one sense, I would say it is like Raga Bhakti.
Okay.
In Sadhana Bhakti, the senses are getting purified. In Raga Bhakti, you are in the sadhaka sharir externally doing sadhana, but in your spiritual body starts getting developed. You are more meditating, in Vraja sitting, and then more specific about your activities like that. So there is a development of the spiritual body because there is spiritual stimulus for you.
Right.
Okay.
Right, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. And Prabhu, one
Yeah.
more question from
Yeah.
yesterday's class, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Verse 15.5, these qualities which are mentioned, Nirman, Mohajit, Sangadosa,
Yes,
and
Sangosh.
Atmanekta.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Prabhu, these qualities are prerequisite for practicing devotee, or for practicing bhakti, or it's a byproduct of bhakti. How do we see this?
Ultimately, you have to see whether you have the symptoms of surrender.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have the symptoms of surrender, Ami to na ami, you don't consider anything as mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bhakti Thakur Sharnagati bhajans is there. Manas deha
Yes.
goha, jai kuch tumar arpito Nanda Kishore. So nirmana moha, you know. So like that, all these,
Mm-hmm.
you
These are
know,
symptoms basically.
these are basically symptoms.
Yes, 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 yes,
So it
yes.
is common to both Gyanis and devotees in one sense, you can say.
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions about this section? Okay, so then let's go to the next section. Next section is a very small section. Now, the soul is transmigrating in bondage. So, how Krishna assists us in our material existence and our spiritual endeavor? This is a very interesting section. And just give me a minute, please. I just want to bring out. Yes. Okay. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kame. Okay. So I'm just sharing now. Just give me a minute, please. Actually, I did not do my homework. Somehow it was a little tight schedule for me. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, Vibhuti Yoga comes in three places. This is the third place. Vibhuti Yoga we have been studying. Krishna's self-identification with matter. In chapter 2, Rasvamapsu Kaunteya, he spoke how he is the essence of everything. In chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, he spoke about how he is best of everything. And chapter 15, he is now speaking these Vibhutis as the maintainer of everything. So when we see that how the Lord is maintaining us, that's a sign of love. And that's why we remember Krishna. So that is also one way we can remember Krishna. So Krishna shows how he's the maintainer of everything. How he does that, he will explain in this section of the Vibhuti Yoga in chapter 15 now. This is a very interesting section, I feel. Okay. So now 15.12 to 15, get jnana by perceiving higher arrangement in the material world. So I had this experience recently, this year somehow, because of the whole planetary positions, there's a lot of heat which is being generated. And one day, a few weeks in the night, I had a lot of heat. I was not able to sleep. And one night I got up early in the morning, 2 o'clock, and I was just trying to sit and chant. But then it was almost like a Purnima, and I was just seeing the moon and I was sitting and chanting and remembering Krishna Chandra. But the soothing rays of the moon actually cooled my body. Then that appreciation, no? So Krishna speaks how at the cosmological level, at the terrestrial level, at the physiological level, and at the spiritual level, he is maintaining all of us, jivas. So he speaks now first at the cosmological level. यदादित्यगतो यदादित्यगतं तेज जगद्भास्यतेऽखिलं यच्चन्द्रमासि यच्चाग्नो तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकम्. Know that with the light of the sun, Adityagatam Teja, moon and fire, Yat Chandramamsi, Yat Chagno, which illuminates this universe. Yad Akilam Jagat Bhasyate is my light. Tad Mamakam Teja, it is my light. You know, so if Krishna doesn't light the sun for one day, then we cannot survive. Whatever the jiva attains in the bound state, I, being the essence of sun, moon, and other objects, supply that. That is explained in three verses. The light situated in the sun rising in the morning on Udaya Parvata. So this is the Manasuttar mountain, but I don't know exactly, you know, which is this place of Manasur mountain where there is Uday Parvat. Uday Parvat it is called. Illuminates the world in order to cause action for attaining present and future environment. That light and all light, Akilam, that is in the moon and fire, belong to me. Mamakam tat tejo mamakam. What is known as sun, moon, and fire are actually me. Know that these are my vibhutis. So moon is a vibhuti, fire is a vibhuti, everything we see. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you may say a living entity in this material world cannot deliberate on anything but matter. So how can we possibly deliberate on conscious reality? Because we are caught in matter. But the splendor of my spiritual existence is also in this material world. My vibhutis are there. By taking itself, one can gradually attain a pure spiritual state and one's material state is destroyed. So this Vibhuti Yoga is very important for remembrance of the Lord. I had been discussing this a lot in the 10th chapter. The splendor of the sun, moon, and fire which illuminate the whole world is indeed only me. It is no one else. Now at the terrestrial level. घामाविश्य भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधिः सर्वाः सोमो भूतः भूत्वा रसात्मक entering the earth Gama Avishya. By my power, Ojasa, I support all beings. Bhutani Dharayami Aham. In one sense, earth means the entire Bhumandal also. And Bhumandal is carried by, Anant Shesh first, and then Anant Shesh is below the tortoise. Actually, tortoise is holding everything. So he is supporting all the living beings because if he removes the support, the entire Bhumandal will go in the Garbhodak ocean. I nourish all plants. Pushnami cha aushadhi sarva, becoming the moon, Somo Bhutva, full of sweet juice, Rasatmaka. So in the vegetables, fruits, all the rasa you are getting, actually it is because of the moonshine. And it is said that on the moon planet there are the Pitras, and the sun evaporates, from the ocean, the water, and a certain portion of the water enters the moon planet and it is churned there into form of Somarasa. And for 15 days, uh, the moon god invites the Pitras who reside in moon planet, and every day they keep on having, in rows, prashadam. He feeds the Somrasa, and that's why there is the Krishna Paksha and the Shukla Paksha happening. So when the moon is waning, then they are all being fed and the somras is getting depleted. And then when the churning starts, from the Amavasya, from the Pratipad, then, the nectar keeps on filling. So you can see the waxing of the moon. That's how it happens. And this moon not only gives somrasa to the pitras in the moon planet, those same rays fall on earth and it nourishes the plants, the fruits, the vegetables. So we are also all drinking somras in the form of all these plants. Entering the earth by my own Shakti Ojasa, being situated there, I maintain the moving and non-moving entities. Becoming the sweet juiced moon, I cause plants such as rice to increase and grow. That's how. Okay, now at the physiological level, aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam dehama pranapana samayuktaha pachamyannam chaturvidam, becoming the fire of digestion, vaishvanaro bhutva. So there is a vaishvanara fire in our body. I take shelter within all beings. Aham praninam dehamashrita. I digest the four types of food. Pachami annam chaturtham. There are these four types of food using the prana and apana. Prana, apana, samayukta. Becoming Vaishnavara, the fire in the stomach. So in the stomach there is the Agni, Jatra Agni we call, right? There are 13 types of fire which the Ayurveda says. Taking shelter of the bodies of the living entities along with prana and apana which stimulate the fire, I digest the four types of foods. The four foods are chewed with the teeth, bhaksha, Some are chewed with the teeth, like roasted chickpeas, savored by the tongue without using the teeth, bhojya, such as soup. You just taste it with the tongue, not with the teeth. Licked, leha, such as raw sugar, you lick it. And sucked, chosha, in which the chewed portion is discarded, such as sugarcane stick. You suck the juice, right? Okay. Now, not only at the terrestrial, cosmological, and physical, Krishna maintains, but as the Paramatma, he guides us spiritually also. And this is that verse Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannavishta mattha smritir jnana pamohanam cha vedesha sarvairahameva vedya vedanta krit veda videha chaham. I am situated in everyone's heart. Sarvasya hridhi cha I am sannivishta. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. And I am also known by all Vedas. Vedesha sarver ahameva vedya. I am the maker of Vedanta, Vedanta Krit, since I alone know the Vedas. Aham eva cha Vedavid. Krishna Chakradakar. Just as I am the fire in the stomach, I am also dwelling in the hearts of all moving and non-moving entities in the form of element, buddhi, intelligence. So Paramatma supplies that buddhi. From me in the form of intelligence, matta, there is remembrance of sensations from objects previously perceived. From me, there is also knowledge arising through contact of the senses with the sense objects and also the removal of both knowledge and memory. Apohanamcha. Having told how he helps the jiva in his bound state, the Lord then tells how he assists the jiva to attain liberation. I am known through the Vedas. I alone made Vedanta through Vedvyas because I know the real meaning of the Vedas and no one except me knows the real meaning. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I am situated as a super soul, Ishwar, in the heart of all living entities. According to the results of the living entities, past actions, they acquire memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness of both. Therefore, I am not only the impersonal Brahman who pervades the whole universe, I am also Paramatma situated in the heart of living beings and bestowing the fruit of their karma upon them. Furthermore, I am not just the living entities worshipable Brahma and Paramatma, but I am also their instructor and I bestow eternal auspiciousness upon them by giving the Vedic knowledge. I am Bhagavan, I and I alone am to be known by the Vedas. I am the compiler and the knower of Vedas. Aham means Bhagavan here. Therefore, I manifest as Brahman, pervading the material world for auspiciousness of all entities. As Ishwar or Paramatma, I pervade the hearts of all entities, and as a Bhagavan, I bestow the supreme transcendental goal. In these three manifestations, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, I deliver the conditioned souls. So, having heard this, that I am the compiler of the Vedanta, Arjuna is inquisitive. Can you tell me Vedanta in essence? So Krishna will speak the essence of Vedanta in 3 verses, which is called as the Tri Shloki Gita. So this we will see in the next class. But any questions or clarifications you have up till now? Any questions or any clarifications you have? Okay, so we will stop now. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Hare Krishna.